The sun had barely crested the horizon when Ashley Johnson heard a thunderous knock at her front door. She raced down the stairs, her heart pounding, to find three burly men in suits standing on her porch. "Ma'am, we're from the Oakwood Homeowners Association. There's been a complaint about the color of your house," the tallest one announced, his voice dripping with authority. Ashley's stomach dropped. She had spent weeks agonizing over the perfect shade of blue, one that would bring warmth and personality to her modest suburban home. Now, it seemed, her carefully curated vision was under attack. "What's the problem?" she asked, attempting to keep her voice steady. "I followed all the guidelines when I repainted last month." The men exchanged a glance. "The color is too bright. It's disruptive to the neighborhood aesthetic." The spokesman paused, his brow furrowing. "You'll need to repaint immediately, using an approved color from our list." Ashley felt her blood begin to boil. "This is my home, and I have the right to choose how it looks. The color isn't hurting anyone." The men remained unmoved. "You have 30 days to comply, or will be forced to take legal action." With that, they turned and marched back to their car, leaving Ashley alone on her doorstep, her hands trembling with a mix of fear and outrage. She had heard the horror stories of HOA bullies, but she never imagined she'd be on the receiving end of their wrath. Determined to fight, Ashley stormed into the house and grabbed her laptop. She furiously typed out a scathing email to the HOA board, outlining her case and demanding they reconsider their decision. As she hit send, a wave of uncertainty washed over her. What if they didn't back down? Later that evening, Ashley's husband, Michael, returned home to find her pacing the living room, her brow furrowed in deep concentration. "Honey, what's wrong?" he asked, concern etching his features. Ashley quickly explained the confrontation with the HOA representatives, her voice quivering with emotion. Michael's eyes widened in disbelief. "They can't do that. This is our home, not theirs." He clenched his fists, his jaw set in determination. "We're not going to let them bully us into changing something we love." The couple spent the next few days researching their rights and exploring their options. They discovered that the HOA's guidelines were vague and open to interpretation, leaving room for negotiation. Emboldened, they decided to take a stand. As the 30-day deadline approached, Ashley and Michael marched into the next HOA meeting, their heads held high. They presented their case, arguing passionately for their right to choose the color of their own home. The board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, clearly unprepared for such a spirited challenge. After a tense discussion, they reluctantly agreed to reconsider the complaint, promising to review the matter further. Ashley and Michael left the meeting, their hearts racing with a mix of triumph and uncertainty. They knew the battle was far from over, but they were determined to fight for the home they loved, no matter the cost. The following week, Ashley and Michael anxiously awaited the HOA's decision. Each day felt like an eternity as they wondered whether their impassioned pleas had fallen on deaf ears. Finally, the dreaded letter arrived in the mail. Ashley's hands trembled as she tore open the envelope, her eyes scanning the contents with bated breath. "They're upholding the complaint," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "We have 2 weeks to repaint the house or face fines and potential legal action." Michael's face fell, his jaw clenching in frustration. "This is ridiculous. They can't just dictate how our home looks." Anger and determination flashed in Ashley's eyes. "Well, they're about to find out that we won't go down without a fight." The couple spent the next few days researching their options, consulting with local lawmakers and property rights advocates. They discovered that the HOA's guidelines were riddled with loopholes, and that they might have a strong case for challenging the decision in court. Emboldened by this newfound knowledge, Ashley and Michael decided to take their battle public. They reached out to local news outlets, painting a vivid picture of the HOA's heavy-handed tactics and their own fight for personal freedom. Within days, the story had gone viral, with thousands of people rallying behind the couple's cause. Social media was ablaze with outrage, and the HOA's inbox was flooded with angry messages from supporters across the country. The board members, once confident in their ability to control the narrative, found themselves on the defensive. Faced with the prospect of a public relations nightmare, they hastily called an emergency meeting to reconsider the complaint. Ashley and Michael anxiously waited by the phone, their hands clasped tightly together. When the call finally came, they held their breath, bracing for the worst. "We've decided to drop the complaint," the HOA president announced, his voice laced with defeat. "You can keep the color of your house." A wave of relief and elation washed over the couple. They had won, against all odds, and they knew that their victory would inspire others to stand up to HOA overreach. As they embraced, Ashley and Michael knew that their fight was far from over. The HOA would undoubtedly continue to flex its muscle, and they would need to remain vigilant. But for now, they savored the sweet taste of triumph, their house shining brightly as a symbol of their hard-won freedom. In the days following their victory, Ashley and Michael found themselves at the center of a growing movement against HOA abuse. Thousands of people, inspired by their story, reached out to share their own experiences of HOA overreach and heavy-handed tactics. "It's like they think they own the neighborhood," one homeowner wrote in a passionate email. "We need to band together and fight back against these power-hungry tyrants." Emboldened by the outpouring of support, Ashley and Michael decided to take their fight to the next level. They began organizing a series of town hall meetings, inviting local residents to share their stories and discuss strategies for holding HOAs accountable. The turnout was overwhelming, with standing room-only crowds packing community centers and school auditoriums. People from all walks of life, young families, retirees, and everyone in between, shared tales of HOA harassment, from petty fines for minor infractions to outright discrimination against certain homeowners. "They fined me $500 for having a basketball hoop in my driveway," one woman recounted, her voice trembling with emotion. "I've lived here for 20 years, and they've never had a problem with it before." As the stories piled up, Ashley and Michael knew they had tapped into a deep well of frustration and resentment. The HOA system, once viewed as a way to maintain property values and community standards, had become a tool for control and abuse. Determined to enact real change, the couple decided to take their case to the state legislature. They spent countless hours researching the laws governing HOAs, building a coalition of like-minded activists and legal experts. When the bill they had championed finally made it to the State House floor, the HOA representatives came out in force, lobbying aggressively against the proposed reforms. But this time, Ashley and Michael had the support of thousands of angry homeowners, who flooded the Capitol with calls, emails, and personal testimonies. The debate was heated and contentious, with both sides passionately arguing their case. In the end, the bill passed with an overwhelming majority, much to the dismay of the HOA lobbyists. As the governor signed the legislation into law, Ashley and Michael stood by his side, beaming with pride. They knew that their fight was far from over, but this was a significant victory, one that would empower homeowners across the state to stand up to HOA abuse and reclaim their right to choose how their homes looked and felt. The couple left the State House, their hearts full of hope and determination. They had proven that even the mightiest of HOA giants could be toppled, and they were ready to take their message nationwide. In the wake of their legislative triumph, Ashley and Michael found themselves in high demand. Homeowners associations across the state were scrambling to revise their policies and guidelines, wary of facing the kind of public backlash that had brought down the Oakwood HOA. The couple's phone rang constantly as news outlets, community groups, and even national organizations sought their expertise and insight. They became the de facto leaders of a growing movement, their once local fight now taking on national significance. "We're not done yet," Ashley declared in a television interview, her eyes shining with a determined glint. "This is just the beginning. We're going to keep fighting until every homeowner in this country has the freedom to choose how their home looks and feels." Michael, standing by her side, nodded in agreement. The HOA system is broken, and it's time for a change. We're going to keep pushing, state by state, until we see real, lasting reform. Their message resonated across the country, sparking a groundswell of support from homeowners who had long chafed under the heavy-handed rule of their local HOAs. Suddenly, Ashley and Michael found themselves at the forefront of a national crusade. Their once humble battle for a blue house transformed into a movement for personal freedom and property rights. As they crisscrossed the country, speaking at town halls and rallying supporters, the couple encountered countless stories of HOA abuse and overreach. They listened intently, documenting each case and using the information to refine their legislative strategy. It's not just about paint colors anymore, Ashley told one audience, her voice ringing with conviction. These HOAs are targeting everything from the size of our yards to the types of cars we can park in our driveways. It's a blatant violation of our rights as homeowners. Michael chimed in, his tone equally resolute. We're not going to stop until we pass meaningful reform in every state. These HOAs need to be held accountable, and we're going to make sure that happens. The couple's crusade soon attracted the attention of lawmakers and policymakers across the political spectrum. They found themselves testifying before state legislatures, offering their expertise and personal experiences to help shape the new wave of HOA reform bills. As the months passed, Ashley and Michael watched with pride as their efforts began to bear fruit. One by one, states across the country enacted new laws that curbed the power of homeowners associations, protecting the rights of individual homeowners and reining in the most egregious abuses. It was a hard-fought battle, with setbacks and challenges at every turn. But through it all, Ashley and Michael remained steadfast, driven by a deep conviction that every person deserved the freedom to choose how their home looked and felt. In the end, their perseverance paid off. The two-bright house that had once sparked a local conflict had become the catalyst for a national movement, one that would forever change the landscape of homeownership in America. As the crusade against HOA overreach gained momentum, Ashley and Michael found themselves at the center of a growing media frenzy. Their faces became familiar on news broadcasts and talk shows, their story of triumph over a petty HOA complaint inspiring homeowners across the country. But with this newfound fame came a new set of challenges. The HOA industry, sensing the threat to its power, launched a well-funded campaign to discredit the couple and undermine their efforts. They're just a couple of troublemakers, stirring up unrest for their own personal gain. One HOA lobbyist declared in a scathing op-ed. The truth is, these HOAs serve an important purpose, and the vast majority of homeowners are perfectly happy with the way they're run. The attacks were relentless, with the HOA representatives employing a variety of tactics to sow doubt and confusion. They flooded social media with paid trolls, flooding Ashley and Michael's pages with accusations of dishonesty and ulterior motives. Undeterred, the couple doubled down on their efforts, using the increased platform to amplify their message and rally even more supporters. They traveled the country, appearing at town halls and community events, sharing their story and inspiring others to stand up to HOA tyranny. They can try to silence us, but they won't succeed. Ashley said defiantly during a television interview. We're not going to back down, no matter how much they try to discredit us. This fight is about more than just a house color. It's about the fundamental rights of homeowners everywhere. Michael, standing by her side, nodded in agreement. These HOAs have had free rein for too long. It's time for them to be held accountable, and we're going to keep pushing until that happens. The couple's unwavering determination caught the attention of a powerful political ally, a high-profile senator with a reputation for taking on entrenched special interests. Impressed by their grassroots movement and their commitment to reform, the senator invited Ashley and Michael to testify before a congressional committee, giving them a national platform to share their story and advocate for sweeping changes to the HOA system. As the hearing unfolded, The couple's impassioned pleas resonated with lawmakers from both sides of the aisle. They shared heartbreaking stories of homeowners who had lost their life savings or even their homes due to petty HOA fines and vindictive actions. The HOA representatives, once so confident in their ability to control the narrative, found themselves on the defensive, struggling to justify the industry's abuses and excesses. The tide was turning, and Ashley and Michael could feel the momentum shifting in their favor. When the hearing finally concluded, the senator announced the introduction of a comprehensive HOA reform bill, drawing on the couple's testimony and the input of homeowners from across the country. It was a monumental moment, one that signaled the beginning of a new era in the fight for homeowner rights. As Ashley and Michael left the Capitol, hand in hand, they knew that their battle was far from over. But they also knew that they had made an indelible mark, inspiring a movement that would continue to grow and thrive long after they were gone. In the aftermath of the powerful congressional hearing, Ashley and Michael found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of media attention and political maneuvering. Their fight against the Oakwood HOA had blossomed into a nationwide crusade, with homeowners across the country rallying behind their cause. As the senator's HOA reform bill worked its way through the legislative process, the couple found themselves inundated with interview requests and speaking engagements. They crisscrossed the country, sharing their story and inspiring others to stand up to the tyranny of their own homeowners associations. "This isn't just about a paint color anymore," Ashley told one audience, her voice ringing with conviction. "It's about the fundamental rights of homeowners to have a say in how their neighborhoods are run. These HOAs have had free rein for far too long." Michael echoed her sentiments, his tone equally resolute. "We're not going to stop until we see real, meaningful change. These abuses have to end, and we're going to keep fighting until they do." The HOA industry, sensing the growing threat to its power, launched an aggressive counteroffensive. Lobbyists swarmed the halls of Congress, pouring millions of dollars into a campaign to undermine the reform bill and discredit Ashley and Michael. "They're just a couple of attention seekers, riding the wave of populist outrage," one industry spokesperson sneered during a televised interview. "The truth is, most homeowners are perfectly happy with their HOAs, and these reforms will only serve to undermine property values and community standards." But the couple refused to be cowed by the industry's attacks. They doubled down on their efforts, using their growing platform to shine a light on the industry's shady tactics and the real-world consequences of HOA abuse. "They can try to silence us, but they won't succeed," Ashley declared during a fiery speech at a town hall meeting. "We're going to keep fighting, state by state, until we see real change. These HOAs need to be held accountable, and we're not going to stop until that happens." As the battle raged on, the senator's HOA reform bill began to gain traction, with lawmakers from both sides of the aisle rallying behind its provisions. The industry's attempts to derail the legislation were met with fierce resistance from a growing coalition of homeowners, activists, and concerned citizens. Finally, after months of heated debate and intense lobbying, the bill was passed by both chambers of Congress and signed into law by the president. It was a momentous victory, one that ushered in a new era of accountability and transparency for homeowners associations across the country. As Ashley and Michael watched the historic moment unfold on television, they couldn't help but feel a sense of overwhelming pride and accomplishment. Their once humble fight against a petty HOA complaint had blossomed into a national movement, one that had forever changed the landscape of homeownership in America. The couple knew that their work was far from over, but in that moment, they allowed themselves to savor the sweet taste of triumph. They had proven that even the mightiest of HOA giants could be toppled, and they were ready to continue their crusade, empowering homeowners across the country to stand up and fight for their rights. In the aftermath of the landmark HOA reform legislation, Ashley and Michael found themselves at the center of a new wave of media attention and public accolades. Their tireless efforts to hold homeowners associations accountable had earned them widespread admiration and respect, transforming them into something of national heroes. They're the voice of the voiceless, one commentator gushed during a television interview. Ashley and Michael have shown that ordinary citizens can stand up to powerful special interests and win, and that's a testament to the power of grassroots activism. The couple, however, remained humble in the face of their newfound fame. They knew that their fight was far from over, and that the real work of implementing and enforcing the new HOA reforms would be an ongoing battle. "This is just the beginning," Michael said during a press conference, his tone resolute. "We're going to keep pushing, state by state, to ensure that these new laws are actually being followed and that homeowners are getting the protections they deserve." Ashley chimed in, her voice equally determined. "We're not going to rest until we see real, tangible change on the ground. These HOAs have had free rein for far too long, and we're going to keep fighting until they're held fully accountable." The couple's commitment to the cause quickly became the stuff of legend as they crisscrossed the country, speaking at town halls and community events, sharing their story, and rallying support for the ongoing reform efforts. They're like the modern-day Davids, taking on the Goliaths of the HOA industry, one admirer gushed during a rally. "If anyone can keep the pressure on and see this through, it's Ashley and Michael." And indeed, the couple did not disappoint. They worked tirelessly, leveraging their newfound platform and influence to push for even stronger protections for homeowners. They collaborated with lawmakers, legal experts, and community organizers to ensure that the new HOA laws were being properly implemented and enforced. Their efforts paid off in spades as homeowners across the country began to see tangible changes in the way their local HOAs operated. Petty fines and vindictive actions were curtailed, and homeowners were empowered to have a greater say in the decisions that affected their neighborhoods. As the years passed, Ashley and Michael's legacy only grew stronger. They became symbols of resistance against corporate overreach and the importance of grassroots activism. Their story inspired countless others to stand up and fight for their rights, and their names became synonymous with the ongoing battle for homeowner freedom. In the end, the too bright house that had sparked their initial fight became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of ordinary people to make a difference and change the world around them. Ashley and Michael's legacy would endure, inspiring generations to come in the never-ending struggle against HOA tyranny. As the dust settled on their national crusade against HOA abuse, Ashley and Michael found themselves reflecting on the extraordinary journey they had undertaken. What had started as a simple dispute over the color of their home had blossomed into a movement that had forever transformed the landscape of homeownership in America. They had taken on a powerful industry, faced down a relentless campaign of smears and attacks, and emerged victorious, not just for themselves, but for countless other homeowners who had long suffered under the heavy-handed rule of their local HOAs. "It's been an incredible ride," Ashley said, a wistful smile playing on her lips. "We never could have imagined that our fight would have such a far-reaching impact." Michael nodded in agreement, his gaze fixed on the now iconic blue house that had sparked it all. "It just goes to show what can happen when you're willing to stand up and fight for what's right. We may have been the ones in the spotlight, but this victory belongs to all the homeowners who refuse to be silenced." The couple had become something of local celebrities, their names and faces now synonymous with the fight for homeowner rights. Wherever they went, people would approach them, sharing their own stories of HOA abuse and thanking them for their tireless efforts. "You inspired us to keep pushing, to never give up," one homeowner told them, tears in her eyes. "Because of you, we finally have a voice." Ashley and Michael had, in many ways, become the face of a broader movement, one that continued to grow and evolve long after their initial battle had been won. They had spawned a network of grassroots activists, legal experts, and concerned citizens who were dedicated to ensuring that the new HOA reforms were properly implemented and enforced. "The work is never done," Michael said, his voice tinged with a hint of weariness. "These HOAs will keep trying to push the boundaries, to find new ways to exert their control. But we'll be there, ready to fight back every step of the way. Ashley reached out and squeezed his hand, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and determination. And we won't be alone. This movement has taken on a life of its own, and it's only going to keep growing stronger. As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the blue house in a warm, golden glow, Ashley and Michael knew that their journey had been anything but ordinary. They had faced down the powers that be, and they had emerged victorious, not just for themselves, but for homeowners everywhere. It was a legacy they would carry with them for the rest of their lives, a testament to the power of ordinary people to make a difference and change the world around them. And as they turned and headed back inside, they knew that their fight was far from over, but they were more than ready to take it on, come what may.